Hey everybody, it's Mattie with Altcoin Buzz. Hope you're having a great day. Today we're looking at three quick stories. One is not so much a story actually. One is our first official ICO review, so you can check that out on altcoinbuzz.io. We're going to take a look at that in more detail in just a moment. The big story of the day is probably this one. So as you may have heard, a little bit of market retracement, some unfortunate news out there in the crypto sphere. The ETF that had been submitted by the Winklevoss twins has been rejected. Alicia takes a look at that in combination with some less than favorable comments out of MasterCard's CEO. But we're starting here on altcoinbuzz.io with this article by Garrett. Iran is planning to launch its own cryptocurrency to avoid American sanctions. This is my favorite kind of story. It's the convergence of international finance and geopolitics and cryptocurrency and blockchain. So let's dig into this. Iran is getting ready to launch its own national cryptocurrency to avoid the economic sanctions placed upon their country by U.S. President Donald Trump. As some of you may know, if you've been following foreign exchanges, or even if you haven't, you may have heard of it, but the Iranian rial is suffering mightily. And whether that's completely a function of U.S. sanctions, whether it's their own economics to be blamed a little bit, combination of things, I'm sure. But we're going to take a look at some of the numbers. The inflation is quite discouraging for a lot of the Iranians out there, and they're having a lot of trouble just dealing with some of those figures. So in May of this year, U.S. President Donald Trump announced that he would pull America out of the 2015 nuclear arms agreement with Iran. Trump also announced that he would place sanctions on Iran, quote, at the highest level. The sanctions state that effective in August, Iran will no longer be able to buy or receive U.S. dollars. Furthermore, the sanctions say that Iran will face restrictions with investing in its oil projects and restrictions on oil being purchased from them. So in response to this, Iran is planning to, quote, create an indigenous cryptocurrency that could not only assist the country with cross-border transactions, but also, quote, help them at the time of sanctions. The Central Bank of Iran will oversee the development of the cryptocurrency, which will be a stable coin pegged to the Iranian rial. That's the only part I don't understand. If you're strictly trying to get around the sanctions, then I suppose, the fact that this could be a good strategy in terms of pegging that to the real. But to me, this is a multi-pronged solution to a bunch of different problems. It's the fact that you may want to get around the sanctions. That's one aspect of it, but you also want to get around the inflation. Now, maybe the argument that the central bank is putting forward is that the inflation is only a direct result of the sanctions. Maybe. I don't buy that. That's propaganda as I see it. So if you want to get around both the inflation and the sanctions, I don't see any reason to peg it to the Iranian rial, because assuming that the performance of the Iranian rial continues to suffer, you extrapolate going forward, you look at some of the numbers. I don't know if that's the best strategy. You want to have a standalone cryptocurrency that's valued on its own merits. Either way, according to the Directorate for Scientific and Technological Affairs for the presidential office, Iran is home to many companies with the skills required to develop a digital currency for the country. So then Garrett goes on to describe the fact that there are similarities with Russia, with Venezuela, and you have more and more countries that are suddenly expressing an interest in this kind of thing. So here's something out of presstv.com. Iran closer to own digital money as sanctions loom. You can also read about this in the New York Times, relating to that last point that Garrett made. Russia and Venezuela's plan to sidestep sanctions. Virtual currencies. Reuters is also discussing this. Iran rial plunges to new lows as U.S. sanctions loom. This is in relation more to the currency itself and the devaluation, the inflation that it's currently suffering. If you want to take a look at some of those numbers, what is the Iranian inflation rate? So this is going from July 2017, so July of last year to July of this year. Monthly inflation rates no lower than 7.9%, with a huge spike in response to all this recent news in July of 2018. So you have 13.7%, just shy of 14%. That's monthly inflation, guys. Monthly inflation of 14%. It's high. That's not as high as what we're seeing in Venezuela and some of these other countries, but nonetheless, that's high, and that hurts your pocketbook. So you'd have to go back to April of 2017 to see some of these figures that we're all of a sudden witnessing again. But you're looking at figures in the mid-teens as far as inflation. So at that point, cryptocurrency becomes less volatile and actually becomes less inflationary. Compared to the real, many of the cryptocurrency coins and tokens out there are actually deflationary in nature and by comparison. So let us know what you think about that situation. Obviously, it's not a great one. We don't want to see tensions escalate between any geopolitical powers. So we hope for the best, and to the extent that they're able to secure some of their finances and some of their wealth, we're going to keep an eye on the proposed cryptocurrency, whether or not it is in effect something that's issued by the central bank and pegged to the real. We will let you guys know. But in other news, take a look at this, and this is something that's going to be it is a very detailed report. We can't quite go over everything, but Altcoin Buzz is starting a new feature. It's an ICO review, and we're beginning with Ergo. So this is the latest. Look at the overview here. Ergo is an enterprise-ready blockchain protocol combined with a development platform and marketplace. They are aiming to build a distributed cloud ecosystem for enterprise-grade application development offered on public, private, and hybrid blockchain. Ergo has three main functionalities, including the Ergo Chain Hub and Marketplace. Ergo technology is based on CoinStack from Blocko, which is a leading blockchain technology and enterprise IT integration services company whose blockchain services have been utilized by over 20 enterprise customers and 25 million users. So if you want to take a look in further detail at the team, what it is they're doing from a business perspective, an economic perspective, a technological perspective, and then of course you have an aggregated team rating from the Altcoin Buzz analysts that looked over their white paper, that looked over all the different aspects and all the different subpoints of the project that they're putting forward. We have an evaluation for Ergo. You can read about it in further detail here. So this is a feature that you should be on the lookout for, because we're always trying to spot some of the fruitful projects, some of the more promising company initiatives out there in the world. So do be sure to take a look at Ergo and let us know your thoughts about this one, as well as future projects that will inevitably be coming down the pipeline. And in perhaps the biggest news of the day, so yes, there's been a lot of unfortunate retracement in the market. It's been triggered for the most part by this Winklevoss Twins ETF, which has been rejected. And then Licia writes about that in conjunction with the MasterCard CEO that's slamming cryptocurrency. I totally disagree with his stance, by the way, but we'll get to that in a moment. So, as Licia writes, can you feel the heavy doom and gloom type of rain outside? Cryptocurrency market certainly can. In the last 24 hours, the SEC once again rejected the Winklevoss's ETF license request, pushing Bitcoin below $8,000. And then on top of that, you have this stuff that's being said by the CEO of MasterCard, AJ Banga. By the way, guys, don't take this as FUD, right? This is just the news. This is what's happening. There has been market movement, right? We're not happy to see it, but the fact that it's now occurred means we've got to discuss it. We've got to analyze it. So that's just what we're trying to do, to report on things as they're unfolding. Thus, according to CNBC, quote, the June proposal from BATS BZX Exchange to list and trade the Winklevoss Bitcoin Trust's commodity-based shares was voted down 3-1 by the commission Thursday. The reason for the decision is clear. The SEC is primarily concerned about the fact that Bitcoin is subject to manipulation and is not, quote, uniquely resistant. As a result, the Winklevoss brothers, who made their first application last year, failed, casting doubts on whether a crypto game changer has finally arrived. So then you have Mr. Banga out of MasterCard, the CEO there. He emphasized, quote, I think cryptocurrency is junk. The idea of an anonymized currency produced by people who have to mine it, the value of which can fluctuate wildly, that to me is not the way that any medium of exchange deserves to be considered as a medium of exchange. He then added that the Russian hackers who allegedly interfered in the elections used Bitcoin. I think they also used toilet paper and wore running shoes, but the jury is still out on that. On top of that, the market lost $11 million. Sounds like everyone needs an enormous umbrella and a nice warm shelter. So let's stick to the SEC issue first. So I think to a certain extent, we've perhaps placed too much emphasis and too much importance on this ETF decision. You can see that we took quite a hit as soon as this negative news struck. But at the end of the day, guys, it's just one ETF among many, going back to another article here written by Chris from a few days ago. So there's the CBOE VANIC ETF that's still being reviewed, and there's still quite a few others that are on hold. So unfortunately, yes, this Winklevoss ETF has been shut down, and there are some concerns that were raised around it. Fine. Apparently the voting members didn't buy the argument about the security and about some other aspects of Bitcoin. But nonetheless, there are still some other ETFs that are being deliberated on, that are being considered. So, for instance, the SEC has yet to decide regarding a cryptocurrency-based ETF. And there is another ongoing ETF application with the SEC, which the SEC has not commented about. The VanEck SolidX Bitcoin Trust. Besides, the commission has also delayed a decision on 5 Direxion Bitcoin ETFs until September 21st. So I think we have to get out of the habit of placing all our importance and all our emphasis on one upcoming event that's going to have a binary outcome, either positive or negative. I know that's unfortunately how the markets work sometimes, but it is what it is. So let us know your thoughts about this. Is this a deal breaker? Is this something that we cannot recover from? Or are you like me and you say like, hey, look, there's still a handful of other ETFs. One of those may go through, but even if they don't, does that really change things one way or the other? It's a setback, but I don't think it's a deal breaker in any way, shape, or form. Let us know about that. You can take a look here on CNBC, Winklevoss Twins Bitcoin ETF rejected by SEC. Get some further details about that. Do be sure to leave an article comment for Alicia as well. Going back to this just briefly. So MasterCard CEO AJ Banga. I don't know about this guy. He's talking about the fact that it's illegitimate, that it's volatile. Cryptocurrencies are, that is. And I get that. He says, I think cryptocurrency is junk. By the way, I don't get that. I get the fact that it's volatile. Yes, I'm not disagreeing with him on that. The idea of an anonymized currency produced by people who have to mine it, the value which can fluctuate wildly, that to me is not the way that any medium of exchange deserves to be considered as a medium of exchange. Not the most eloquent quote there, buddy. But he's talking about the fact that cryptocurrency has been tainted as well by criminality and that there are all kinds of scams within cryptocurrency. And I'm saying to him, buddy, CEO of MasterCard, credit card scams? Have we not discussed this? Has this not ever been a point of consideration in the world of finance? Give me a break. And we're talking about a mature industry, his MasterCard, credit card industry, that is still replete and that is just overflowing with scams and sketchy activity versus something that's just starting out. I mean, the way I see it, once security really ramps up and once we have perhaps the right oversight, I only see scams. I only see some of the illegitimate aspects of crypto decreasing with time. But that's just my perspective, which of course is a biased one. So let me know what you guys think about that as far as Mr. Banga's comments. Do be sure to check this article out if you haven't already to get up to speed on some of the other ETFs that are out there in the world. And guys, if you're not already following Altcoin Buzz and Altcoin Buzz News on Twitter, make sure you do because it's the latest way to keep up to speed with everything that's happening. So members of the Altcoin Buzz Army, ladies and gentlemen, if you choose to invest, I wish you happy investing. Stay tuned, stay notified, give us a thumbs up if you can. We're going to be out soon with a new video. We'll see you again soon with new content. Take care for now. Have a great day.